Okay, we're going to talk about how to get started on our surrealistic two-point perspective project. Here is my reference photo. You guys have already found yours. Here's my final illustration. And so we're going to get started on your paper. So I'm going to talk about some of the tools we're using and how we're going to use them. So if you were in design or architecture school, you would be doing this actually with a T-square and a 90-degree angle here, okay, to make things go a lot faster. We're going to be using just a ruler, and that's fine. That'll work just fine. You'll be able to do this project too. But let's start with how we're going to get this started. First of all, we needed a horizon line, and I've already drawn mine in. I have drawn mine in 6 inches from the bottom. So I measured up 6 inches, did a tick mark here, 6 inches, did a tick mark here, and I used my ruler to draw a line. Now I'm going to be drawing darker just so you guys can see better, but on your paper, please draw lighter because you're going to be erasing a lot of lines. So don't forget that. So I'm drawing dark so you guys can see, but on your paper, draw light. Okay, draw light until it's right because you're going to be erasing a lot of lines. The other thing you may want to consider is getting some blue tape to kind of tape your paper in place. Just 2 corners at the top is all you need. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So first off, I want to think about, if this is my horizon line, here's my picture. How far down do I want to make this first line? So that would be the start of this corner, right? So how far down do I want to go? Now, yours may vary. Okay, so maybe your horizon line is higher, okay, because possibly you have like a 4-story building, something like that. But you just have to plan it out. But right for now, I'm just saying, do a horizon line 6 inches, okay, from the bottom. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to establish this corner. And again, we have to kind of consider the height of this building. So my building is 3 stories. And you can see, in my final, it does look like it's 3 stories, right? And we're going to work through that together. But you do have to, again, kind of think about that when you get started. All right, so I'm going to put my vertical line about here. I'm going to change this up a little bit. I'm going to eyeball it so that it's going to be right here. Now, because I don't have my 90-degree, to immediately make my line, I'm going to have to measure here, okay, to get that first line. So I'm going to just say that I'm going to put a point here. That's where it's going to be. Measure over, and I've got, oops, wrong end. I've got 10 and a half, and I'm going to come down here and do 10 and a half and do a tick mark. Okay, and then make my lines. This is my center point line. And again, I'm going to make this kind of pretty dark. Okay, so this drawing is going to be probably a little different than my original one. Where's my point? Oh, I'm just going to, yeah, I think it's pretty good enough. I'm going to leave it right there. All right, so that's going to be, this line is representing this corner. Okay, now I'm going to actually add in my points on the sides. So I'm going to need 2 points, right? It's 2-point perspective. So I'm going to put a point here and a point over here. And now this is where I'm going to connect. Okay, so the bottom of this line goes to my vanishing point. And again, I'm drawing dark. The top goes to the vanishing point. Do the same on both sides. All right, so now I've got the start of the corner of this building, okay? So of course I'm going to erase my horizon line. I'm just going to do a quick erasing. I'm not going to erase it completely because it's going to be too time consuming. But I'm going to erase it a little bit just to get it out of there, okay? Now, the next part is going to be kind of up to you, but what I did was I established where my floors are, okay, starting at this corner, because that's closest to the viewer, right? So there are 3 floors, And I just kind of guessed, okay, you divide this into 3 sections. That's going to be a floor. There we go. So as you're working through this, you're just going to use proportion to establish things such as windows and doors. So if a ceiling height is, say, for example, like actually this is probably about 10 or 11 feet in this building, because the door is 6'6". So we can imagine that as being about 10 foot. So that's about right. So 10, 10, 10. So that's going to be, and I'm just going to make these little tick marks because I want to delineate where my floors are, because I've got windows that will get placed. So again, I'm just going to draw these lines to my vanishing point to start establishing that. And again, don't forget, please draw light, because otherwise you're going to have a big mess to erase. And don't forget, we're going to be adding watercolor or color pencils. Your choice. We're not coloring the whole entire thing, just giving a suggestion of what is happening, because we're looking at this as kind of a sales pitch, right? We're going to be presenting this to maybe a movie company. Think about like Avatar, right? You're creating a scene, and we're just going to do a quick illustration just to kind of represent the overall feeling. All right, so now I've got 3 floors. Now this building, the door is right on the end. So I can actually look at that and go, okay, I'm going to put a straight line here to start the door, because it's kind of chopped off at that corner. And again, this is where you're going to start to make up your own rules, right? So that's my door. And maybe it goes up to that point, right? Because this is 10 feet, and I already said this is like 6'6". So I'm just sort of I'm scaling things, visually scaling things so that it looks right. Am I measuring? Absolutely not. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of go ahead and place a door in here very quickly. And, I would measure. I'm not measuring right now because I'm just trying to do this pretty quickly. But to keep things even, right, and parallel. So it makes sense. So this is a door. And then I'll put the top part of the door in. There you go. So that's this door now facing us, right? And then we can add all this trim work detail and all that other kind of stuff that's in here. Let's see. Then we've got windows over here. Again, you're just going to kind of eyeball it, okay? Now, I kind of looked at these buildings in sections, right? This is a section, that's a section, section. So that's what you're going to start to do too, as you divide up this space here to make it look more believable. I'm going to say that this section is here. So just measure that really quickly so you can get your lines straight. Again, if I had a T-square in my angle, I could move really fast on this, and that's how actually I used my, oops, wrong mark, I think. Wait a minute, let's see. 10.5. I'm using my, well, it looks supposed to be right. It looked wonky. Is that right? Oh, okay. No, I do have to go parallel. Okay, never mind. Don't measure. I think we're going to have to go, yeah, okay. I'm sorry. See, working through this myself. Okay. All right, so we're just going to measure over 9.5. There we go. And then 9.5. I'm using my centimeters here now. Pardon me. Okay, now I can do my straight line. Okay, there we go. That's how we're going to do it. And it's parallel. Okay, boom. So that's this building here. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm just going to continue using my centimeters to keep it even. 9.5. All right, and 9.5. All right. Oops, did I do the same thing? I need to go this way. Yeah. Yeah, it needs to go over a little bit more. Okay. There we go. Now we've got our, okay, so now I've got this section, all right? So now I can start to kind of plot out where the windows are. Again, we're not measuring, we're just kind of using our eye to gauge size of windows, right? So I'm gonna say there's 3 sets of windows here. I can do like little tick marks, like this is the start of, say, this window and that window. And maybe this will be the end of this window, and this window, right? So window here, and then I've got these two windows there. So again, you're just kind of, you're going to be measuring over, getting these straight lines, and I just do all of my lines at one time. So I can do a row of windows really quickly. If you're really good at lining things up, just do things by eye. That's fine too. Now this is where you're going to go to your vanishing point, right? So I'm going to establish that my window height is here. Window height is here. So I'm going to go to my vanishing point and create that top of that window there, for example. Now to get, we're going to still do this side, right? But if we go to this side, we're going to be using that vanishing point. And now I'm going to say that the bottom of my window is here. So I'm going to go to this vanishing point to here. All right. There we go. All right. Now we're going to establish what this window is here. This one's here. It's a little smaller. So think about it's going into the distance. So this is where you're going to have to kind of, fudge things. Just make it look visually like it's going into the distance. And as you go into the distance, your windows go from larger to smaller. Now, of course, it can change up, right? Because you may have a larger scale windows down here. So it's, there's no harm if that happens whatsoever, but just think about that. All right, so I'm just going to draw my lines here to create. I'm just going to continue those lines too. Do this one over here because I just want to kind of see what this looks like before I do the middle. Okay, so I'm going to establish that middle bank of windows is right here. I like moving it because since I'm not measuring, I'm just using that other line as a gauge so I can work fast. All right, so now I have 3 sets of windows. I'm going to get a pen and just kind of outline that so you guys can see. And this is what we are going to be doing when we finish our drawing. We're actually going to be outlining and just using, that's not working very well. Let's go to this one. Just doing a lovely, very easy hand drawing, hand sewed. So nice hand-drawn lines, which gives it, I think, a really nice quality when you're doing just a quick suggestion of a building or an illustration. All right, so there you go. So now I've got 3 windows. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I can also, let's say, for example, I want to put in this building. Well, that's lower than this one, isn't it? So I'm going to establish that, well, I'm looking at that, and that line is about at the top of that window. So I'm going to draw that line there to my vanishing point to create that next section, okay, of building, which is here. And again, you're just going to be eyeballing it. I'm like, okay, it's going to be maybe about here. So how far over is that? That is 2 and 1, 2, 3, 2 1/3. 2/3 rather. Let's see. Yeah. Having a hard time seeing my lines. Okay. There we go. All right. All right, so I guess I'm gonna go to the top too. Yeah, okay. There we go. Because that building is higher, right? So we have now our smaller building, and we can erase this line. And now we have this taller building here, a shorter building, and then it goes back up and goes back down. So you can start to create those dimensions of these buildings. To get this line here, you're going to just go to this other vanishing point over here because that's going back into space. So I'm going to just draw that, and it's going to end the top of that building. All right. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to try to decide, okay, where are there doors? Like there's a door here, and you can kind of just start to kind of pencil it in. Okay, door. There are windows here. So that's where they're going to go. Just kind of doing tick marks to kind of delineate where to draw my lines going this way to start my windows, and keep on going. Now, how far will your city go back into the distance? That's going to be up to you. You can stop it wherever you want. But of course we want, a drawing that's interesting and dimensional. And I'm just going to kind of just stop my building there. Okay, so this then I will erase all of these lines. And this one too. And of course leave my horizon line. Okay, so my horizon line is going to stay. All right, may incorporate something there. Over here, same thing. I'm just going to decide. I'm just going to eyeball this, not even bother measuring. Is that parallel? Let's just go for it. All right, there we go. And then erase these lines. Okay, but don't forget, put your horizon line back in because you're going to need it. All right, there we go. That is the start of your city corner of your choice. And then after that, you can make decisions about how will you make it surrealistic. Are you going to have a dragon sticking its head out of the window, or let's see, flowers in the background, and maybe a grasshopper hanging on the side of the building, or will your clouds be in the road versus, pavement? How will you make your city surrealistic and bring it to life? And again, we're going to, just once we finish our drawing, we're going to just by hand outline our lines. And I use watercolor just to kind of darken in the windows, and I use watercolor for the rest of this. But however you illustrate, that is up to you. And again, we're not doing the entire thing. We're just doing a suggestion of what this would look like. Because again, this is a sales pitch. And sales pitches are usually generally pretty fast, and they're just, great suggestions because, maybe the person who's financing wants to change, certain things about it. So then you can draw up another quick design for them. All right, there you go.